Great. Hello and welcome. My name is Viola Rose. Hello and welcome to this talk of the Intuitive Power Festival. And I'm going to be talking today about your higher self and how your higher self is an amazing way to learn to trust your intuition. And so we're going to do a little description of the higher self from my understanding, and then also do a little exercise to connect with our higher self right here and now. So thanks for being with me today here in this live video, and also if you're watching the live stream after. So I am a facilitator for the School of Remembering Drunvalo Melchizedek's Awakening the Illuminated Heart Workshop. This is something that I have been doing since 2012, and I have taught over 100 of these 4-day intensives. They're amazing, life upgrading, life-changing workshops to learn to get out of the duality of the mind and into the unity of the heart. And I think of this workshop as sovereignty training because we have everything that we need inside of ourselves. And one of the things that we have inside of ourselves that we learn about in this workshop is the higher self connection. So I thought that would be a great thing to talk about today. Because with my higher self connection, I have learned to come to trust my intuition 100%. Like I don't even second guess it or doubt it. Like I just feel what I need to know and hear what I need to know really clearly. So let's talk about what the higher self is. I know that we hear this term a lot in New Age circles. And so there may be many different definitions of what the higher self is. And so I am going to share my understanding and the understanding of the Awakening the Illuminated Heart and Drunvalo Melchizedek, who wrote The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life books and many other books where he talks about his higher self. So we are here in the third dimension. We are third dimensional beings, and we are like 90% matter and 10% light. We're 5 to 7 feet tall. And this is appropriate for this third dimensional bandwidth that we're in now. And if one way to look at dimensions and dimensional levels, here we are in 3D, third dimension, is that there are 12 dimensions. And there are 12 overtones within each dimension, just like notes on a piano. So if you've got C, D, E, F, B, F, G, A, B, that's 12. And then the return note is C for a total of 13, but there's 12 notes in between the scale. There's also 12 overtones within each dimension and 12 dimensions. Well, since we're in the third dimension right now, our higher self would be a version of us on another note, on the next note up, a higher frequency. And often when we connect to our higher self, we're connecting to our fourth dimensional self because, according to Drunvalo's teaching, there is also some duality in the fourth dimension. So in this third duality that we are in now, we are steeped in density, right, in duality, because there's good and bad. Like the dualisticness of this realm is so strong, and that's the nature of 3D. Well, 4D is some duality, not nearly as much as in 3D. Beings in the fourth dimension, according to this teaching, are 12 to 15 feet tall, are 90% light and 10% matter. And so there's like a light sprinkling of duality in the fourth dimension. And then in the fifth dimensional level of consciousness, there is no duality. There's only unity consciousness. And so when a lot of people talk about going to 5D, that's what they're talking about, is like going back to the still point, the unity consciousness place. And on the way there, a little stepping stone that we go through is the fourth dimension. But because there is duality on the fourth dimensional level, the part of us that exists there is easy to tap into because it's a little bit like us. It has form, it has a little bit of duality. And so we can actually tap into that part of ourselves easily. And this you have to allow for an idea or entertaining the thought that we are multidimensional beings. So if we're existing now on the third dimension, we're also existing on the fourth dimension and on the fifth dimension, etc. It's like when you turn the dial on the radio, whatever dial you are tuned to, that is the radio station that you're picking up. But all of the radio stations are broadcasting simultaneously. So right now, our dial is just tuned to 3D, but we're also existing on 4D, 5D, etc. And so connecting to your higher self is connecting to a higher frequency aspect of yourself that is just on another station on the dial. In this case, the fourth dimension. And whatever's going on here in this strange world, we know that we somehow forget. Like we are a species with amnesia, as Graham Hancock would sometimes say, and we don't remember who we are when we come into this life. So we go through some sort of veil of forgetting or some sort of mind wipe or whatever it may be in our reincarnation cycle, and we come in and we don't know who we are. And we don't remember why we chose to come here into this life or what led up to that. And so we've got these like blinders on, like if you imagine a horse, and sometimes they have blinders on so they can't see in the periphery. So here in 3D we have these blinders because we've come down into this level of density to incarnate. Well, our higher self doesn't have those blinders on. They didn't incarnate in. So if we can make the connection with our higher self, we can learn exactly who we are, why we came here, what led up to that, and what we're intending to do here in this life. So this is an amazing connection to make. And when you make the connection with your higher self, you can begin a dialogue and a rapport and a communication and a relationship with your higher self so that you can start to ask questions for yourself and get the answers that you need from directly within. This is intuition. It is listening to the still small voice within, to your own inner voice, which is the voice of your higher self if you create space for that and invite that aspect of yourself in. How do you know when you're connecting to your higher self that that's the voice? There may be many voices. I know that when I try to sit and meditate, I can just quiet down and hear many different voices going on. It's almost like this is a radio receiver and there's broadcasts of all sorts just happening. How do I know which voice to tune into? Well, in the Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshop, we work with getting into the sacred and holy space of your heart, the place of unity consciousness. And when you are in your heart, truly, you can hear that voice of your higher self very, very clearly. And you can actually begin a dialogue with them back and forth to establish this connection and get clarity on any answers that you want in your life. So that's just a little overview of the higher self. And so what I'd like to do is take us through an exercise, whether you're watching this now or watching this later, to connect with the higher self. And so because the higher self, as I explained a little earlier, is 12 to 15 feet tall and is 90% light and 10% matter. And this is explained in The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life book by Drunvalo Melchizedek. And he references some ancient temples in Egypt. Very often we see large statues, large entryways into temples, pointing to beings coming from different dimensional levels. So there's more that can be shared about that. If you just want to message me about any of this, feel free to. Just write me right here on Facebook. So in connecting with this higher self, this fourth dimensional self, 12 to 15 feet tall, 90% light, that looks a lot like an angel. What we often describe as angels, and as people will often create art that look like. And so if you see a being or can contact a being that looks a lot like an angel, it may very well be your own higher self. And so this is gives you an idea. It doesn't always have to look like that, but we have at least one higher self. Now this is where it gets interesting. We don't all just have one. We have at least two, actually, because we're in the third dimension right here, which is a level steeped in duality. And at the fourth dimensional level, there is also duality, not nearly as much, but some. And then at the fifth dimensional level, as I said earlier, there is unity consciousness. So from the unity consciousness of the fifth dimension, we split into two to come down to the fourth dimensional level. So there's two of us there on the fourth dimensional level. And then from the fourth dimension, we split further to come down here into three, the 3D. So we have at least two higher selves. It's enough to just connect with one and work with that. And eventually over time, the other one may show up. And they don't necessarily even follow like gender lines, like one is male and one is female. They may not have any gender. They may just be like orbs of light of different colors. So it can be almost anything. And And you kind of just have the sense when they step into you that something special, a special aspect of yourself. And I want to reiterate, as we do this little ceremony where we're going to call in our higher self to become embodied within us, we're not calling in anything other than our own self. This is a part of us. It is us on a higher frequency level. So what a blessing to bring this part in. And so what we're going to do is call forth these aspects of ourselves to come forward and be present right in front of us, and invite them in. And remember, they're 12 to 15 feet tall, so they may come in and seem like a large presence. And then we'll talk to our angel, our higher self, and ask them to turn around so they're facing in the same direction as us, and then step back into our human bodies and merge with us. The higher self merges with us through our central nervous system. And when they step into your body, you may feel this moment as something very special. And you may actually feel or sense them getting smaller to step into your body, or you may actually feel your essence getting larger to accommodate that. So let us take this moment now to close our eyes and take some breaths into the heart. You put your hand on your heart if you like. And take a couple breaths to feel the love that you have for Mother Earth. And a couple breaths to feel the love that you have for Father Sun, Father Sky. And also a couple breaths, feeling the love that you have for yourself in whatever capacity that you can. Appreciation for some aspect of yourself, or total unconditional love, whatever on that scale you have access to. And now we're going to consciously call forth our fourth dimensional self, the part of us that does not have the blinders on, that knows the big picture of who we really are. And we're going to call forth that aspect of ourselves to come stand directly in front of each one of us here. And if you want to, you can let my words be the instruction, or you can repeat them out loud for yourself as you call in your own higher self. Higher self, thank you for being here. Welcome. Higher self, I ask you to turn around and face in the same direction that my human body is facing. And now, higher self, I invite you to step back into my physical form and merge your being with my physical essence now. Notice what this feels like when your higher self steps back into your physical form. Take note of this feeling, because you can use this feeling in the future to call your higher self in. And now you can begin a dialogue with your higher self in whatever way is accessible for you. Maybe it's a communication and you can actually speak words internally and hear a response back from that small voice within. Or maybe for now it's just an energetic exchange The communication is that you're feeling what it's like to have the awareness of this aspect of yourself. We'll give a moment for that now. Okay, so this presencing with your higher self, this aspect of yourself, this is something that you can cultivate. And every day you can invite your higher self in. You can also just invite them to stay within you. It's all up to you in this free will universe with the way things are set up. You can choose whether you want your higher self to be with you always. And if you hear a communication and a dialogue back and forth with your higher self this easily, that's beautiful. And if not, you can cultivate it. You can cultivate it over time by continuing to go in and being with the essence of your higher self, feeling what that feels like. And you can even agree on a feeling in your body, on one side of your body or the other, or a certain image that may show up in your head as yes, and you can agree on one as no and one as neither. And you can start to ask questions of your higher self. And you start with really simple questions, questions that don't carry a lot of weight. So that way you don't try to steer the results on your own, and you start to listen for the answer. If you get that feeling in that sense of your body, or that image in your head, or the sound, whatever it may be, then, should I wear the red shirt or the blue shirt? Should I drive this way to work or that way? Do this for some time. Just asking simple questions, getting the communication line going. And then over time, when you really feel like you have connection with yourself, you can start to ask more important questions, the big questions that really is important for your life. And so this is a deep way to get the intuition really dialed in and solid in your life. So I think that is the experience that I wanted to share with you. So in closing, I will say that if you want to learn more about this, or about the Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshop, of which this is a part, and we spend 4 days in workshop, and each day we're developing the connection with the higher self, but we're also learning to get out of the mind and into the unity of the heart space. We're activating our psychic antennas that come out of our pineal chakra so that you can really actually turn on your intuition in a whole nother way. And we learn to breathe prana, life force energy. We heal traumas from around the heart. And we learn to activate our heart-based Merkaba, our star Merkaba, our light body, that is a protection field that will allow us to travel into that fourth dimension when it's time, when at the end of our life, or if there were to be a big shift to a higher frequency, we could go consciously with our activated Merkaba. So I'm happy to share any of that with you. I have live workshops that I offer in the Sedona, Arizona area. I have online 4-day trainings that I do via Zoom almost monthly. And I have a self-study guided course that you can take at your own pace as well. So I also offer 2-hour introduction courses to this online, and I have lots of videos on my YouTube channel as well. So my YouTube channel is Viola Rose, and my Facebook channel is my profile here, Viola Rose, and also Heart and Sound Healing is my business page. And my website is violarose.com. So you can find more information there or message me here, and I'm happy to connect with you. So I wish you a beautiful time connecting with your higher self. It is so sacred, and it is so our birthright, and so who we are. So namaste from my higher self to your higher self, and have a beautiful day.